Great things have come early for the men's basketball team as news has broken about the availability of a new player to the team. Hello, I'm Tegan Lamont.
And I'm Dana Pecora. Conference play has started and some teams are rising to the challenge. You're watching LaSalle TV's Home for Explorer Athletics, SportsLine.
Welcome to SportsLine. We have a volleyball-loaded episode for you as the team has been hot, sweeping yet another conference opponent this week.
And later, one of the outside hitters of the team will join us for another segment of On the Sidelines.
But first, let's take a look at our SportsLine top three. Number 1, men's basketball has made an unexpected addition to the team as sophomore transfer David Beatty was granted immediate eligibility from the NCAA. Beatty played his freshman season at South Carolina, but transferred to LaSalle back in May to be closer to home. The Philadelphia native played in 29 games for South Carolina and recorded a season high of 16 points against the Limestone. Ashley Howard voiced his approval of the decision, saying in a statement, quote, "We are ecstatic that the NCAA approved this waiver. David's proximity to his family was an important factor in his decision to transfer to LaSalle. He has already made an impact on our program with his commitment and hard work in practice, and we can't wait for him to suit up for the Explorers this season," end quote.
Number 2, the softball team will be hosting an alumni event following their game against the Villanova Wildcats on October 6th. After the game, the public is invited to join the team for their first annual Home Run Derby for alumni. After the event, there is a gathering set at McGillicuddy's to fundraise for the softball program.
Number 3, the volleyball team has finally hit their stride. The women are on a 3-game win streak and boast a conference record of 3-1. They are currently tied for second in the A10 behind VCU and have gone 9-3 in September. The Explorers started the month strong, sweeping the LaSalle Invitational at Tom Gola Arena. They struggled at the Towson Invite, only winning 1 of 3 games. They earned their first A10 sweep in 13 years against Davidson before sweeping Rhode Island over the weekend. We'll have more on the volleyball team in this week's Explorer Report, recaps, and featured interview.
That's all we got for headlines this week. Let's see how our athletes are doing in this week's recaps. Women's soccer cannot seem to find their momentum after back-to-back losses this weekend extended their losing streak to 3. Last Thursday, the women took on Duquesne but ultimately fell short in overtime. The Blue and Gold scored the first 2 goals in the game courtesy to Molly O'Brien and Clarissa Kirschdout. The Dukes responded with 2 unanswered goals to tie the game and send it into overtime. It only took Duquesne 16 seconds of overtime to find the back of the net and win the game. The women remained home to face Massachusetts and found themselves in an early 2-0 deficit. Freshman Cameron Cox cut the Minutemen's lead down to 1, but UMass scored an insurance goal in the second half and took the game 3-1.
Men's soccer took on VCU at home as a part of the Tailgate Series. Isaiah Clark has your coverage.
Men's soccer went head-to-head against VCU in their A10 conference opener. The game got off to a rough start when in the second minute, VCU scored on a goal shot from outside of the box. The Explorers had a few chances to score in the first half, but couldn't capitalize, making the score 1-0 at halftime. After the intermission, the Rams added to the lead with a penalty kick in the 72nd minute. Salle played down a man in the final 15 minutes of the game, making the score even more insurmountable, making the final score 2-0. LaSalle had a shot advantage of 6-3 despite the loss. 5 Explorers registered a shot in the game. This game brings the Explorers record to 2-7 overall and 0-1 in conference. For SportsLine, I'm Isaiah Clark.
After losing to VCU, the team snapped a 7-game losing streak, but still couldn't pick up a win at St. Joe's. St. Joe's started the scoring in the 30th minute and led 1-0 going into the half. Soji Olatoye evened the score in the 55th minute. He netted his second goal of the game in the 63rd minute. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough as the Hawks struck back just 30 seconds later. The two teams battled for the rest of regulation, but the game remained deadlocked at 2 goals apiece. 20 minutes of overtime couldn't break the tie, and the score remained 2-2.
The field hockey team went back on the road to take on St. Louis and LIU Brooklyn. The Explorers took on A10 foe St. Louis in a hard-fought battle. Junior Lauren Leckleitner scored her first goal of the season, putting the Explorers on the board in the first half. After St. Louis tied the game going into halftime, senior Megan Kiedis scored for LaSalle to take the lead. The Billikens later tied the game, forcing the game into overtime. Both teams went scoreless into overtime, forcing a shootout. Unfortunately, St. Louis scored the game-deciding goal, and LaSalle fell 3-2. Meanwhile, the Explorers took on LIU Brooklyn and had an impressive game. LIU scored the first goal of the game midway through the first half, while Logan O and Riley Allen scored to put the Explorers in the lead. The second half was red hot as LaSalle registered 7 goals, 3 of which were from Mackenzie Karcher as she got herself a hat trick. The Explorers came out and won the game 9-1.
Volleyball picked up their second straight conference sweep against Rhode Island. The Explorers didn't waste any time and went on a 12-5 run in the first set. LaSalle held off Rhode Island for the rest of the set and won 25-17. Points were traded throughout the second set, but the Explorers would go on a 6-1 run to claim the win. LaSalle came up with 4 kills early on in the last set and shut down Rhode Island. The Explorers kept their winning streak alive against Fordham and claimed the first set thanks to back-to-back kills by Madison Kutch. The second outing was all LaSalle, which led to another win. The Rams bounced back in the third set and out-hit the Explorers. LaSalle tried to rally, but was unable to do so. The last set was close, but the Explorers were able to edge out the Rams and won 25-20.
Both the men's and women's cross-country teams competed in the Lehigh-Paul short run this week, where the men finished 21st out of 41 teams. Sophomore Ryan James led the way for LaSalle as he finished with a time of 25 minutes and 13 seconds in the 8K race, which was good for 42nd overall finish. Ibrahim Kadir and Nathan Gillis also ran solid races, finishing in 103rd and 104th place, respectively, with a time of 25 minutes and 37 seconds. The women didn't fare as well, finishing 31st out of the 41 competing teams. Junior Grace Mancini ran an excellent race, finishing 23rd overall with a time of 21 minutes and 15 seconds. But the rest of the Explorers were unable to pull their weight.
The men's water polo team suffered 3 defeats this week against top competition, including a rematch against Navy. The midshipmen got off to a hot start, taking a 9-2 lead at halftime before a dominating 10-1 finish, crushing LaSalle with a score of 19-3. In the next game, the Explorers' defense was not enough to halt 20th-ranked George Washington's explosive offense, despite scoring 7 goals in the second half. LaSalle fell to the Colonials by a final score of 23-9. Keeping with the theme of a high-scoring game, LaSalle fell in their last game of the weekend against Johns Hopkins, 24-15.
The women's tennis team returned to the courts after a week off in an invitational tournament hosted by St. Joe's. The Explorers headlined the junior duo of Allie Snyder and Tiffany Theophil, who advanced all the way to the semifinals in the doubles Flight 2 bracket. The duo took down a pair from Bucknell and defeated the home pair from St. Joe's before falling to a couple of Drexel Dragons. In the same bracket, freshman Jasmine Wall and junior Mansi Mahastra earned themselves a victory against more Hawks, being eliminated. In singles matches, Wall kept up her momentum by winning the back half of the fourth flight.
The women's golf team recently competed in the Bucknell Invitational, powering through 3 rounds over 2 days of play. On day 1 in Lewisburg, the team finished 6th on the overall scoreboard. Junior standout Maribel Declan once again led the Explorers squad, finishing the first 2 rounds with a score of 159, good enough for 14th on the individual leaderboard. Declan did not disappoint on the second day of play either, as she finished her third round with a final score of 79 and tied for 13th on the individual board. Freshman Grace Hickey also found herself in the spotlight, aiding the Explorers with an impressive overall score of 266. The Explorers finished in 6th place overall, with a final score of 1,096 strokes.
Well, that's all we got for recaps. We will take a short break, but when we come back, Isaiah interviews a volleyball player on this week's edition of On the Sidelines. Welcome back. The volleyball team has been making a statement in the A10 this year. Isaiah Clark sat down with outside hitter Samantha Graver to talk about their season.
Welcome to On the Sidelines. I'm Isaiah Clark, and today I'm with sophomore volleyballer Samantha Graver. How you doing?
I'm good today. How are you?
I'm doing fine. So I kind of wanted to start at the beginning and how you got to LaSalle. So what part of the school or the program convinced you to come?
There's a couple different factors. I'm from Allentown, so not very far, and I knew I didn't want to go that far for school. So when I started talking to LaSalle for volleyball, I was really interested, full ride program. I was excited about that, and really the school, I kind of am interested in working like inner city for my job.
Right.
So I think being in a school for that, for the education part, is very important. So I really like the program, volleyball and school-wise, yeah.
Okay. And so what's your major here now?
I'm early education, special education with American Studies minor. Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about the athletic side of the student athlete. So a few weeks ago, you guys had your first A10 sweep in 13 years.
Yes, 13 years.
And then you did it again a few days after that. How does that feel?
It's amazing. I mean, I'm early in the program still. I guess you could count it as I'm still a sophomore. But just the dynamic of the program, it's been like a great jump from last year. Last year was a great team and everything, but this year I think we just have like a target on our backs and we realize that,
right.
and we're really taking advantage of it, and it feels awesome that we accomplished something like that.
Okay, yeah. And then going off of that, you guys were 1 and 3 last year in the A10. Now you're 3 and 1 this year. So like that constant improvement is like a good way to improve under Coach Schweihofer.
Yeah.
How is it like playing under her as a coach?
I've known her for a while. Ever since like recruiting, I actually played club for her my senior year too. And I think she really has like her heart set on like improving the program, and she's done a great job bringing in new recruits and everything. And I just think each year we're getting better, and she's developed like a standardized like system during practice and stuff that really helps us. And I think she knows our strengths and weaknesses very well, that she's able to deal with them and coach us very well. Yeah.
So like last year, she brought you in,
Yeah.
and you made like an instant impact on the team as a freshman. And this year, she brought in Elizabeth Osborne, who's also having an impact on the team as a freshman. Like, what do you think of her as a player?
She's a very strong player. Usually we are based like on, like I said, like incoming players. Like they usually jump in the program right away, and they're a big impact in the beginning, just like you said. Right. I was last year. Unfortunately, I got hurt. But I think it's really important for the rest of the team, like to bring the younger players in from the beginning. And I think she's done a great job, like taking in all the advice that the upperclassmen are giving her. She has a really powerful arm, and she's doing great at what she's good at, and she's capable of becoming even better.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's making an impact, but you're still also making an impact as a sophomore. It seems like every time there's a win, you're up on the top of the leaderboards and like kills or assists or something. So how do you think like your year is going personally?
Personally, last year I played 6 rotations, outside and back row. Currently, right now, I'm playing back row for Maddie, our senior outside, and I have accepted the role, and it's been awesome. I just think the chemistry is goes really well this year. So like, I think I found my place right now, and like we're all very evenly matched. Like me, all of the outsides and everything. So if someone's not doing well, like we know when our place is to step in, and we're doing a great job. But everyone's like rotating like that, and I just have taken like the back row into a lead with Jensen, our senior captain, libero, and helping her out back there.
Right. And so for volleyball, you guys obviously travel a lot. You guys traveled like all over the country.
Yeah.
For you, what was like your favorite place to go?
This is hard, only because let alone do I sometimes not remember, just because they're long trips, we're playing games. But I remember last year, the St. Louis Zoo, I loved going to that, personally. But also, when we went to Ohio, 2 of my teammates last year were from there. Actually, they're still on the team this year, Jensen and Katie Edgington. And we went to Jensen's house for a lunch and everything, and all our family was invited. And it was just kind of an awesome experience, just because we're in college and we always see them like in Philly, like in LaSalle atmosphere, but seeing them like in their home was really awesome, and it was just really cool to see that. Yeah.
Okay. So like back to serious business.
Yeah.
Okay. So tomorrow you guys play St. Louis.
Yes.
And then Saturday you play Dayton.
Yes.
Right now you guys are tied for second in the conference with Dayton. So that's obviously a big game. Is there like kind of like an emphasis on not ignoring the St. Louis game Friday because they're like on the bottom half of the conference, and like focusing on that game and then on Dayton?
I think we take it one step at a time. Right now our focus, obviously we know both teams, like we played them in the past, they're very, very good teams. But I think going game by game is really important. So right now, like St. Louis, right now they might be in the bottom of the conference, but in the past, they're a really good team. Like, you never know in the beginning. Some people are beating teams that they've never beaten before, like us. We did that this year too. So it's kind of just like, don't underestimate any team. We know St. Louis is a good team, and we know they're very strong on the outside, and we're just going to have to scout them and practice very hard right before the game.
Right.
And then turn and focus the night before, watch some film on Dayton, and really focus on that game.
Right, yeah, because the A10 definitely seems like a very, very close competitive conference.
Very close this year especially, yeah.
Okay. So one little last question here. I played volleyball in high school, if you didn't know. Yes, I did. And you're obviously a volleyball player. Yeah. So for the uneducated, namely my co-producer Steve Silvestro, can you please explain what a dig is?
Yes. Dig is kind of similar to a pass. Pass you kind of refer as when like someone's serving at you and you pass the ball. Right. But a dig is when the opponent is attacking the ball. Yes. So like when they're having an attack, and if you get it up, that's a dig. Right. Yep.
Of course, I knew that. Yes. You didn't know that, obviously. Yeah. All right. At this point, looks like I'm out of time, so I'm going to have to wrap it up. Thank you, Samantha, for joining me.
Of course.
It was a pleasure. Yep. Obviously, as I said, Friday they have a game against St. Louis. Saturday they have a game against Dayton. I'm going to be there. Sam is going to be there. Of course. Are you going to be there? Only time will tell. Back to the desk.
So that was a great edition of On the Sidelines with Sam Graver. We now have Isaiah joining us on desk to talk a little bit more in depth about the volleyball team and the interview. So Isaiah, we know that this is obviously a very talented volleyball team. Right. Can you tell us a little bit more about the talent on this team aside from Sam?
Aside from Sam, this is a very pick your poison type of offense they have. They have Catherine Edgerton. She's a junior. She's a very talented outside hitter. Along with we have Devin Core. She's the best player on the team.
Yeah, you've heard about her for forever now. We've been talking about Devin.
Devin Core is definitely the best player on this team. She definitely leads this team in almost every category, aside from the setting stats. Aside from that, you also have Catherine Wood, who's also a very good hitter. So this team, if you can eliminate one, there's always going to be someone else that picks up that slack from a player that might not be performing well that night.
Yeah, it sounds like offensively there's a lot of talent on the team. What about defensively? What do you see from them on that side?
Defensively, they actually do have Sam actually does play a little defense. Right. So there's a very good defensive team also. That defense does pick up the pace sometimes when you have to get back into offense. Right. I forget who the leader of Diggs is actually, but I forget who the leader of Diggs is. But Graver is actually on the top 5 on the team, and so there's a lot of good defensive talent on this team also.
It's kind of exciting to see the volleyball team doing so well. This is not a team that really gets a lot of recognition, solely for the fact that it's not a very conventional sport. It's not basketball, it's not soccer, it's not these sports that you can really hear of, and they're doing a great job. So I'm really happy that we're getting to highlight them for doing such a great job.
Yeah, I think that plus the fact that they haven't been the best team we've seen, but it's really nice to see them competing in conference play. Grabbing 2 sweeps in the last 2 weeks is an awesome step for them, and they're getting close to clinching a spot in the A10 playoffs. So, do you have anything to say about that?
They're actually only about 3 or 4 games away from clinching a spot. They obviously have 2 games this weekend. Then the extra one, they win that. Then they have a spot solid into the A10 conference championship or tournament.
So one player that we didn't mention there is a freshman, Elizabeth Osborne.
Right.
What can you tell me about her?
Well, she came in as a freshman, and she's making an impact. She's always on the top of the kills list for a game. She also won A10 Rookie of the Week 1 week. So she's definitely going to be a centerpiece on this team for the next 3 years of her career. Yeah,
I noticed that she has 7 or so double-digit kill games or something like that. That's a really crazy stat, especially at this point in the year. They haven't played many games above 7 games. That's awesome for her. And
talking a little bit about Devin, too, Devin Cora. She was actually on SportsLine not too long ago. She was my first interview, actually.
Wow.
I love to see that she's really leading this team. She's so good. We've always seen her. Even when the volleyball team hasn't been great, she's one of those people that you've seen her name. So can you tell us how she needs to really lead this team and what she'll need to do to take them forward?
Well, she just has to keep doing what she's doing, really. She's always on some list for the A10, constantly one of the best players. So she just has to keep going. I'm pretty sure if she does falter at any point, there is a lot of talent to pick up her slack.
Yeah.
But if she just keeps on her pace right now, she'll be great.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Isaiah, for coming. You're going to stick around with us, but thank you for your great interview. There is plenty of LaSalle sports action this upcoming week, so let us welcome Tyler Small with this week's Explorer Report.
For this week's Explorers Report, we will be taking a look at the volleyball team as they prepare to host the St. Louis Billikens. This Billikens team has had their struggles on the year with only a 2-14 record, but that does not mean they should be taken lightly. They have won their most recent contest 3-1 against Davidson, giving them some momentum coming into the game. The team is led by Maya Taylor, who has a total of 233 kills and a kill percentage of 4.16%, and Case Tchaikovsky, who has a 232 digs and an average of 4.38 digs per set. St. Louis is clearly a team that will not back down easily. However, our Explorers team is entering this game red hot. They have won 3 straight conference matchups, increasing their record to 10-7 on the year and 3-1 in the A10. Devin Cora will take her 232 kills and 4.16 kill per game into this game, along with Jensen Saritz with 350 digs and Katie Woods with 684 assists. This will be an important A10 matchup for the Explorers, and if they limit their errors and stay on the attack, they should be able to increase their conference record to 4-1. Make sure to come out and support the team this Friday at 7 right here at Tom Gola Arena. For SportsLine, I'm Tyler Small, and let's send it back to the desk.
Thank you, Tyler, for this week's Explorer Report. So, to keep the volleyball train going, We're going to talk a little bit about this Explorer report, but we're going to start with our picks because we all actually have picks on how we think this is going to go.
I'm actually in a positive LaSalle mood this week. I think the Explorers will beat the Billikens 3-2.
I'm also in a positive mood, but I'm always in a positive LaSalle mood.
You are the uppity person on this
Yeah,
desk.
I am. I'm Paula. I think LaSalle's going to take it 3-1.
I think the status quo is going to be maintained in this game. I think they're going to get another sweep. I think it's going to be 3-0.
I love it, Isaiah. Isaiah's their biggest cheerleader.
He really is, and he's also like the
support
biggest.
it.
He's also the biggest like volleyball. What's the word I'm looking for? The biggest volleyball Einstein that I can think
Connoisseur.
of. Yeah,
Connoisseur. All right, fun fact. Isaiah played volleyball.
Yeah,
I did.
Isaiah,
I did do that.
Isaiah.
Can you tell us a
did
little bit about your
yeah,
experience really quick? We need to know a little bit more about you because we never get you on here.
Well, I played 2 years, junior year and senior year in high school. I obviously am not that tall, so I played mostly back line. I shifted in for the forward spot hitter, and yeah, you know.
Wow.
Played a lot of defense, not a lot of offense.
I felt
love
like I
your
was
volleyball
in chemistry
passion.
class.
What
I
happened?
really thought I was in chemistry class for half a second.
That was
Didn't understand a
awesome.
single word you said, but great job, Isaiah.
I love your volleyball passion. I really do.
It's wonderful.
It's wonderful. All right.
Back to
Back to
LaSalle.
Explorer
Here we
report at
go.
LaSalle.
We talked about their game against St. Louis. That's Friday.
Right.
They have a very important game against Dayton on Saturday as
Yes.
well. Dayton is the team that they are tied with in second place in the conference. How do you think that game can swing their season for the rest of the way?
It definitely would be a boost to beat Dayton. That definitely like separates them obviously from the rest of the pack. If you look at the standings, every team is very close knit. Everybody's like really close packed into the standings.
Right.
But beating Dayton and like getting that tie away from second would be really important for them in their season.
Thank you, Isaiah, for all of your volleyball knowledge. And we got to learn a little bit more.
Thank God he is here. All right. Well, that just about wraps it up for us this week. If you can't make it out to see the Explorer Report, be sure to tune in next week for our coverage. Keep up with this weekend's other sporting events by visiting goexplorers.com or check out this week's edition of the Collegian.
Also, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/LaSalleTV and on Twitter at SportsLineLTV. We welcome you to send us your thoughts and suggestions there.
For Isaiah, Tyler, and our SportsLine team, I'm Tegan Lamont.
And I'm Dana Pecora. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you at the game.